A giving circle, yes. A giving circle is a group of people, like minded individuals that shared values that get together to create change in the community, right? They gather, they discuss different causes, they talk about their values, uh, they decide where they are going to pull their collective donation, and then they give it away, and they engage further with their nonprofit that they support, or their projects that they support. So actually, now that you mention it, we just launched a website called whatisagivencircle.com, and
Wow,
it lives there, and it's
good for
super
you.
simple and super fun.
Yeah.
um yeah,
Giving
because
circles
we want.
have existed since the beginning of time. We just haven't
Mhm.
called them that, right? So I mean, there are all, like you said at the beginning, there are different cultures around the world who've been collecting funds and setting others up for success. I love this story. I think it was, I'm trying to remember exactly where it was. I believe Laos, and they have something where they all, when a new couple gets married, the community is expected to invest in a fund for this couple, and that couple can take that money and buy a home or make sure they're set up for success to build a family, and then they're expected to give it back towards the community again when the next couple gets married. So it's this set of cultural expectations. I think it may have even been from the Happiness Project. Now that I'm sort of retelling this story, I'd have to look it up, but if anybody who's listening can correct me, I'm happy to take that. But the concept is, you're expected to pay it forward every time. I really
Totally.
like that
And
idea. It's
totally,
different
and
from
yeah.
like America's giving circles, but the concept is to say that there have been different ways of giving and supporting each other since the beginning of time. And now, in America, our giving is so individualized that it's less accessible for people who aren't able to make major investments, so they don't have the time to invest in understanding where should I put my money, or understanding how to even invest, or that it's a thing. So I like that it's a social concept. It can bring people together, and it can really educate individuals at any level, from giving $10 to 1,000 to 100,000 and more.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think, you touch on something super important. It's something that has been going on in different cultures for years, but it
Yeah.
has not been recognized as philanthropy, right?
Right.
And I love that in your podcast you said, love of humanity, because
Yeah.
that has been my mantra always. Like, everybody can be a philanthropist, because
Yes.
and giving circles, they not only give their their financial gift, but they give so much more, right?
Mm.
They give their talent, they give their time, they give their testimony, and they really engage with each other and with
Mm.
the projects and the nonprofits and the causes that they support. So there's a lot of learning
Yeah.
along the way, and I think that's also because sometimes people ask me, like, well, are giving circles kind of like crowdfunding? And I said,
Yeah.
no. I mean, crowdfunding is collective giving, yes, because it's the collective of people given to a cause. But in giving circles, you are really, rolling up your sleeves, and learning about the different organizations, and
Mm.
being in community with people. And I think that it's what is really attractive.
Yeah.
um,
It's more strategy. I am glad you brought up that distinction, because I'm not sure that I've really spent that much time thinking about it. But giving circles are different from crowdsource, because crowdsource is really, they're basically pitching and trying to convince. It's more of an impulse purchase in many ways. A lot of peer to peer, or something that really hits at the heartstrings. But then the giving circles, it's where you're actually doing strategic giving. So you sit down and you learn about the problem, you then invest in it, and then oftentimes you're looking for a report or check-ins on how is the money being spent, and is it effective, and would we continue to give to that organization. So it brings me back to understanding Philanthropy Together, and what your thoughts are, Sara, around what's critical to making a giving circle successful. Like, what would you say is the most critical element to making a giving circle successful?
I think the most critical element will be trust.
Okay.
Trust across the board. I would
Tell me
say,
about that.
trust among members,
Uh-huh.
trust with, the nonprofits that you support. And because a lot of times, and I think I love the way, philanthropy is shifting, towards more trust-based philanthropy, right? That changing that image that, the donor knows what is good for the community. When that is not the case, like, let's face it, who is working with the community? That executive director of the nonprofit,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
community knows what the community needs.
Yeah.
So I think giving circles are a great example of trusting the nonprofits. They become this vehicle of asking the nonprofit, what do you need? What are those projects that you maybe
Mm.
not get funding from, a bigger foundation or a bigger funder because everything is restricted.
Mm.
And the giving circle sometimes comes to fill those gaps, right?
Mm.
Like giving that money with no strings attached. Why? Because that that organization, a lot of the times, it's a local organization that it's, trusted in the community, and it's just, they're investing in the leader of the
Mm.
organization too.
Right.
So I would say trust. Also, keep it light,
Mm.
because when people are part of giving circles,
Yeah.
you're doing this in your spare time,
Yes.
right? You could be doing yoga, having dinner with your friends or your family, taking a
Mhm.
class. You could be doing so many other things, and you're
Mhm.
deciding to take, that hour or two every quarter or every month or whatever, often they meet, to be part of a giving circle. So
Yes.
it has to be light, it has to be fun, it has to be
Yeah.
engaging. If there's too many processes, too many restrictions, too much work,
Mm.
people stop engaging.
With this latest valuable episode, we'd love to thank you for joining us on the Creating Community for Good podcast. If you found today's show valuable, simply visit our website, creatingcommunityforgood.com, to leave a review, as well as to get access to additional resources and relevant links from this show. Stay tuned for more episodes.